Hello everyone, Richard Carlton here. Welcome to Friday at 1 o'clock. We are working on our live broadcast here at FM, I would say FM starting point, but it's fmtraining.tv, where we are going to bring to you some really awesome content today. This continues to be a hot topic for those of you who are working with the FileMaker platform and you have remote users. And now with the way things are these days, a lot of people being at home, remote user speed and access is really a critical component of making sure that your users are happy. If your FileMaker solution is optimized to take advantage of the speed, then they will be much happier users. And so what I wanted to touch base with you about today is the issues that we have been talking to people over the week. Every day we're doing these broadcasts, 1 o'clock Pacific time. And it was brought up to me that, well, one of the concerns was that people at home, you know, the boss was blaming, oh, you have a slow internet connection, that's why FileMaker's slow. That might or might not be the case. So what we want to do is make sure that we take the time to answer the questions, to investigate whether the network is slow, and to show you some tips and tricks on how to deal with it. Now, we are adjusting our second studio. This is studio number B, and we are, the brightness and the contrast over here is a little on the dark side. I'm going to attempt to adjust it a little bit real quick. And so if you folks can just bear with me as we adjust the display, the output of this display. I'm going to adjust this thing here, and I'm going to adjust it some more. I'm going to say calibrate. I'm going to continue trying to adjust the gamma outbound because the HDMI connector that's broadcasting this thing out. Yeah, it's so yeah, we could try that. Well, we could try one. I want to see what happens with that. I'm going to hit OK. Hit OK, hit OK. I'll just give that the next version. And then we also do have, so let's try that. The gamma is a little bit on the high side here. I'm going to say done. Of course, I'm on the, almost like on the wrong display here. Let me see. Color shift over here. Can I switch this one too? Let's try that one. Okay, let's try that. Well, since I do this one here. And then I'll say OK. So see if that makes it any brighter for you there. Might be too much. Now it's darker over here on my computer. So it's trying to get this exactly correct is always a little bit of a trick. So what we're going to do is see if this makes it better. Once again, there's about a 1 minute delay here before we can check the results of this. We need to, the studio in Santa Clara is great. Here I'm at my home office studio. Oh, way better. Oh, that's nice. Okay, great. You folks all saw that. Much better on the screen over there. So my inclination is to kind of leave it. I like that. It's much better. Okay, cool. So picking up where we left off. Sorry about the delay there. Once again, if you have questions, feel free to ask us questions. We're going to be talking about optimizing FileMaker to make it work for your schedule. We do have our rescue cats here floating around. So if you hear meows and things like that, it's because the cats are hitting me up for their treats, the official Temptations treat sponsors of this hour of FileMaker training. Yes, yes, yes. So anyway, so we do have cats here. And they, whoa, don't push the, okay, the cat is pushing the camera over. That could be a problem. So we have fluffy kitties, which are a problem. All right, fluffy kitty, go away. All right, great. So as things get knocked over, the benefits of working at home, the cat wants your attention. So FileMaker and making sure things run fast. It came up in a conversation yesterday, the day before, that some people say, oh, you know, FileMaker is slow because everyone's at home using the internet. And then I hear this term, the internet's full, right? That may or may not be the case in your situation. The way you want to test for that, of course, is it just me or did it get dark again? It's always so strange. I have to work on that. I'm going to hide Charles here. Charles, if you have anything to say, feel free to say it to me. I'm adjusting my audio. I'm going to hide my Slack right now. We're going to hide the video out here. The audio, that's great. And we're going to, okay, yeah, whatever, that's fine. Close that. Hang on here, it's getting a little wild. Kill that. And it does show Boxcast on there. So Charles, you do hear me on the broadcast. I hope you do, right? So if I come over here and
I do.
Oh, yep, they can hear me loud and clear. Yeah, that's always the bummer of having a 1 minute delay on things. And then the other thing, of course, we just had the color set correct over here, and then it undid itself. So part of this is me wrestling with the technology here. And this one over here, I'll set this one for that one too. Yeah, it's really aggravating. Let me see, option, calibrate, expert mode. So when you output, this is the difference between Macs and Windows, and sometimes broadcast companies get these kind of goofed up. I'll just bring it down here like that, and then make it active. Continue, 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 continue. I'll just call it number 3. There we go. Maybe that'll be better for everyone involved. Hopefully that will make it much happier. All right, cool. So let's talk about how to check your network to make sure that FileMaker is, it's not FileMaker's problem, it's your network's problem. And so the important thing to understand is that on a Mac or Windows computer, you're going to want to find a utility that's going to allow you to do a ping. A ping is where you send out a little broadcast ping, and you time it, the time it takes to go across the internet. That's called latency in the business. And you need to have a low number. The lower the latency, the less time it took for the ping to go across the internet. One ping is one little packet of information, like a little string, like a sentence. It shoots it across the internet, and it times how long it takes to go there and come back. So this is, I'm going to do 10 pings right here. It's going to shoot the pings off to the to an office here in Santa Clara. I'm going to go and say ping, and I'm getting 75, 117. So anything below 100 was generally good. Anything in the 30, 20, 30, 40 range is great. If you're within the same office network, you'll get a ping that's like 1, right? It's really quite fast. So the idea is that, yeah, see, like here we had a 26, a 31. That's really ideal. Any numbers between 100 and 200 are kind of like a warning area. It could be going slow. Any number between over 300 is just absolutely almost unusable. And so keep in mind that you also might see, and of course I have someone trying to call me. That has to go away. I'll have to always take your cell phones and disable them. So I have people trying to call me. Anyway, so get rid of that. So this is the ping you're going for. You might want to just do like a ping like apple.com. You could always put a domain in here and do a ping like that, assuming that it'll let you. So if Apple doesn't respond, but you could also do, what was it, Google? Was it google.com was another one that would actually technically mostly work. What was it? It was 8.8.8. That was google.com. So yeah, here's google.com. That's a good one there because that'll give you a really good solid benchmark for good local numbers. So look how consistent and look how great those numbers are. Those are really, really nice numbers. So try google.com to yourself. That gives you an idea of how you can assume that the network is fine on Google's side. I think that's generally a good assumption. People ask, hey, how do we manage, how do we know where the slowdown's at? Well, there's some other advanced tools we talked about. That ping plotter was a good tool that you could see where the slowdown was. But the idea is that if you are at a home office and you have Comcast or Rogers or AT&T or whatever home service that you have, and then you ping like Google or Apple, you know that the likelihood of the problem be on your side or the problem be on the Google side, much more likely to be in your home office or your network or your neighborhood, right? Because a lot of times the network will go slow because all your neighbors are all streaming Netflix and stuff. And so in this case, this is a good test right here. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to let this run real quick. I'm also going to go back and adjust the gamma one more time to see if we can get this thing to take. So I'm going to say color. I'm going to go to calibrate. I'm going to say continue, 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 and then try that. Try that, number 4, continue. Let's see how that looks on your side. Hopefully that will get a little bit better because it's a little bit goofy on my side. So that is your ping that you have going right there. So that is a really good time. So this means that if you see this speed, your network is fine. If your FileMaker is running slow, it's the FileMaker database that has the problem, the FileMaker custom file that has the issue. That's where you want to get into that and deal with that and look at that. So how do we optimize that? Well, we got Echo Foxtrot Golf 52 from Brazil. Awesome. I'm glad you're here. Hopefully we can get the video issues resolved. Once again, it's just getting the color correction and the brightness levels from the Boxcast device out there is always kind of tricky. And I'm glad you're there. Welcome. And then also on the YouTube side over here, do we have, if I do a refresh on the YouTube, do we have the live broadcast going over here on YouTube? We do. So if I click over here, we can see with that. And we also have the chat running over there. All right. So I'm going to mute myself there. And so, yeah, we have the broadcast going there as well. So I can see both streams over here, which is excellent. If you have questions, please ask us the questions. So we've established we have a good network connection here. If you see network numbers and speeds like this, then you're really in great shape overall. So you're 30, 27, 24, those are consistently really good numbers. So moving forward here, I'm going to take a look at things that we can do in the FileMaker file to make it much better. So if I go over to FileMaker, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up a copy of FM Starting Point. And if you have questions about this, feel free to ask. Normally we have a couple of our notoriously bad people who always cause us problems here. And they're not here today. We were working on a shirt design yesterday. We're kicking around a shirt design. And so, oh, David's there. That's awesome. So, yeah. So, and then I do have David, who spends his entire time sending me political commentary to the Slack, the Twitch channel, hoping that I'll take the bait and answer a question and get into trouble. Next thing I know, I'm on the news for inciting a riot or something, which would be very bad. So, what we're going to do is we're going to ignore David's at the moment because I don't want to have to step into the politics of the virus. I'm going to take a look at Starting Point. So the issues with Starting Point, we've covered this a couple times before, but the running issues become one where if we have a pile of numbers, mathematical numbers, and a great example of this is if we have a list of invoices here and we have financial totals. People typically like to define summary fields and calculation fields that will automatically calculate at the bottom. And that sounds really great until you try to run those automatically all the time. And so what we tend to do is we take the calculation fields and summary fields and we replace them with a script step that does the work for you, and it only does it when we press the button. So if I am doing a find on a set of invoices here, I don't need this totals always down here calculating and calculating. If you put a summary field at the bottom, it'll always be calculating. It'll always be kind of staggering to calculate, even if you don't care about the bottom. Like if I'm down here and I want to see every invoice that this person right here has created, I do a find for that person, and I just want to take a look at what they've been buying, I may or may not want the total at the bottom. If I want the total at the bottom, then I would say, press the button, give me the total at the bottom, and it would take, there's a little bit of delay there, and it would update those numbers for me. You saw, I don't know if you saw that little flash there, but it was definitely a quick moment where it flashed, it updated the screen, and because I was asking for the total that I wanted the total, I was willing to wait to see the total. So even if it threw a progress bar briefly, that would be okay, right? And so the idea is that we don't want it calculating the bottom unless we want it to do that. So the fields across the bottom are globals. These are global fields. What is a global field? It's a field that has a value in it that's not stored in the database. There is only one value in the database for this right here. So if I come down here, I can't really click in it, but the idea is that every field you have in a database has a different value. So record one, like up here, this field, the same field, but in different records. It's 17,000 here, 7,000 here, 16,000 here. A global will have the same value through all the records, okay? So we define global fields, we put them at the bottom, and then we have a script set the values into those globals from a script that we run manually. The easiest way to see this, once again, and I was talking about this, was to go to the script debugger, and in order to have the script debugger working, you need to go to FileMaker, Preferences. On Windows, it'll be a slightly different spot, but it's basically the same thing. And we're going to make sure that we turn on the advanced tools right here. We're going to say, okay, if the advanced tools were not on, we have to quit FileMaker, reopen it. Then we get this menu up here at the top. This is one of the most useful menus in the product. You say Script Debugger, and it allows us to pop this window right here, and then I can say I'm going to change. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to make a couple changes to the found set here, so the numbers will be different. So when we run this down here, these numbers will change, but we want to run the script in such a way that it pauses at each script step that runs, and so we can see how things are built. It's really great to learn how FileMaker works. Sometimes slowing it down to step-by-step instructions is a great way to really learn the product. So I'm going to say update the grand total. This button right here is triggering script 1220, which is really helpful. It tells us that. And we have these controls at the top. The most important control is this second one right here, which is basically a direct step down. Now there's other buttons that allow you to skip over and do some other cool things. Really, at the end of the day, if the only one you learn is, you can stop it, you can halt the script, you can continue it to play without pausing anymore, or just step through incrementally. So now I'm stepping through each step. Now all these on here are comments, so I'm just going to, if I press that, it's probably going to jump down. It skips all the comments because FileMaker doesn't read comments. And then it's going to jump down to the next command, which is freeze window. We talked about freeze window last week. It helps speed up the performance of a script that's running locally on your computer. Because we actually want to see each step update, the freeze window actually here doesn't do us any good. It freezes and then instantly unfreezes, because the script debugger is basically freeze and the script debugger are opposites. Freeze is like, don't show any updates and get through as fast as you can. The script debugger allows us to go through every step and stop and redraw everything in great detail. They're very much the opposite, right? If that makes sense. So I'm going to say step down, freeze the window, ignore. The next line of code, and of course if we don't know what it's doing, what we want to do is take a look. We can read some of the contents. It's going to run a script that's going to write an audit trail entry. So what we're doing is we go to another script and it creates an audit trail for us. It tells, basically in starting point, we have this ability to write records into an audit trail. And I'll show you that in a second. So I'm kind of jumping through this, and you're going too fast, you're going too fast. Just ignore this part. It's not relevant to our topic of performance. The audit trail simply is like a breadcrumb letting us know that someone ran this script. So it gets done, we come back over here. So that line right there wrote the audit trail. Okay, and then these lines right here are going to set the globals, right? So the fields that are globals, I've named them conveniently with a G underscore. The G underscore is arbitrary. It could have been dog underscore. It doesn't matter. But I put G underscores away for me to kind of see, based on the title, that I think it's a global field, I'm pretty sure. And so I can step through it. And what you can do is, if you watch the numbers down here, they will update. So as I step through, so I'm going to press the 1. We're going to watch down at the bottom. Okay, that number there just changed. Keep watching. I'm going to hit the next one. That number there just changed, and then that number there just changed, and that number there. And so that's how you start to build performant custom applications in the FileMaker platform. This doesn't cause any overhead except when you press the button. If these were summary fields on here, your life would be absolutely miserable. I'm going to go and tell it to just complete the script, and it completes it for me. And then I close the script debugger. And so, because if you just had summaries on here without a button, then every time you came to this screen, it wouldn't matter if you wanted to see that information or not. You would see this progress bar calculating, especially when it's on the cloud, on the internet, and you have lots of records. So what we'll do is on Monday is Audit Trail Day for those of you who are interested in that. Some of you have been asking about that. We're not getting a lot of conversation here at the moment. Everyone's probably bored out of their mind. Oh, there's Ed. Hey, Ed.
We have a question on
let's
YouTube side.
Okay, great. We will get to that in just one second. I just want to, since I'm going here about the live stream, I'm just going to remind people. So what you do is you go to fmtraining.tv, and then you come to I think it comes up. The default of it comes up to like this or something like that. You press the live training button right here. You'll get the upcoming schedule. So Monday is going to be the audit trail. This was requested by Imog or David or one of you characters that's been with us this week. I really like the feedback, and they asked for an audit trail session. So we're going to give you an audit trail session with Calvin Mosiman. I will be there just to eat snacks, pet the cats, and to keep an eye on things, but really Calvin's going to be running the conversation. And so that's Monday. If you want to get a reminder of that, just click the register me right there. You can register and we'll send you a reminder the day before and an hour before, so you're reminded to come to that event. Then what we'll do is on Tuesday, what we're going to do is we're going to get a big honking database with lots of records in it. I think I can have it running by then. And what we'll do is we'll post it up to the cloud, and then we will run, and we will actually show you these screens where we'll pick up the performance conversation on Tuesday. So once again, Tuesday, I think we have open Q&A, and I'm happy to have the open Q&A questions, but really a vast majority of the questions that people ask about, the vast majority are really, and once again, it's gone dark again with the video, so I have to figure out how to brighten it, because I think it's light, but then it gets dark as soon as I turn it off. So I gotta, in Santa Clara, we have it fixed. We've got it adjusted. The color is just about right. It's about 3 or 4 notches too dark here. But yeah, so we'll continue the conversation on Tuesday about the performance monitoring. Now let me jump over to Ed's question. Ed, thank you for the question. Greatly appreciate it. If you have other questions, let us know. If the calculation field is only on the printed layout, is it still a problem? And the answer is no. The way FileMaker works is that if you have so calculation, that's another conversation. We have stored and unstored calculations. That's really, we have time today, we can dive into that, but let's just answer Ed's question directly. As a general rule, if you have an unstored calculation or a summary field, and it's not on the layout, it will not be calculated, and therefore there is no penalty. So we can have a summary field, and it's kind of hard to see with 300 records. The database that we'll have for Tuesday, I'm going to load it full. We're going to get like 1 million records or something into it. And what you will see is this progress bar kind of motoring across. But if the field that causes that calculation to occur is not on the layout, then there's no penalty, which is great, because what you can do is you can still have a layout where it's on there if you wanted it. And you could actually go to that specially if you needed to see that, but just understand you're going to get a progress bar. So what you do is say that we actually were, like you have a report, like a list view, right here, and you are actually in field definition. So I go File, Manage, Database, and we'll use a keyboard shortcut going forward. I just say, we'll call it just summary, right? Something like that. So we're in the invoices here. I'm going to say create the summary. It's going to be, it's text field right now, but I want it to be a legit summary field. And if it lets me, there it goes. I say change. And it says, well, what do you want, a kind of summary do you want? And you have to identify the field that you want to make it a summary. So I make it a little taller. We go to the order. Was it like order total, or was it order total price, like something like that? And we say you get total, average, count, max, minimum, all that kind of stuff. And the rub is that if it's on the screen here, it's going to run it, right? And the problem is I don't have enough records here to really cause it to throw a dialog, which is why I said Tuesday we'll fix that. But what you do is that if we had 1 million records here, this thing would have a little progress bar go motoring across, especially if it was on the internet. So we will show that to you in glorious detail on Tuesday. But the idea is that if you had this field in here, what you do is you don't have it on this layout. You get rid of it off the layout, so therefore it's in the system, but since FileMaker knows it doesn't need to show it to you, it doesn't calculate it, as if that makes sense. So I was waving my hands, you couldn't see me, but FileMaker, if it sees the field and it knows you don't want it, it's not on the layout, it's not going to take the time to really render it and show it to you, which means if it has to do calculations, it's going to skip it. So that's really a useful skill set to have. Ed, do you have any more questions with that? Make sure we answer your questions. And once again, as a reminder, there's about a 60-second, 90-second delay from the time that I say something here to the time that you actually hear it. If you message me, I see it in real time. So just understand if it seems a little disjointed, that's because of the lag with YouTube and Twitch both. So this is one of the biggest issues right here. So these are you would have summary fields here. The other issue that you run into with people in FileMaker solutions is they will come up and they will have calculation fields. And so a calculation field really comes under one of two flavors. A calculation field, like if you take a look at this over here, I really need to be, I'm going to work on zooming in on this in the future. Remember what the zoom in? I'll get that going on this. This is the new Catalina. I need to figure that out. But we zoom in right here. It says unstored or indexed right here. So unstored means that every time it's needed, it has to calculate it, right? And if it's stored, it means that it's already calculated it and it can just show it to you, right? And you'd say, well, isn't that great? Why don't we just use indexed and store? It's stored all the time. We don't have to worry about it. The problem is that FileMaker frequently doesn't know that anything in here has changed, right? So if I come back over to, I want to find a good example. Well, I'm just going to open up our CMS. So we were playing around with our content management system. So we have a database that drives these records right here, okay? It's not really, this database is part of the FileMaker, Video Library Publication Kit. It's actually totally free. If you want to download it for free and play for it, play with it, not pay for it, play with it. You go to fmstartingpoint.com, you go to Marketplace, it's right here, you can download it. So I'm going to show you the master version of this solution right here. So this is some of the records that we create. We reformatted them to be horizontal, or correction, vertically. And then what we do is I'm going to actually open up the FileMaker file. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to go to FileMaker, I'm going to say open up recent files. I'm going to open up the CMS. Where is the CMS? It's giving me grief. Let me say hosts DBW4. So this is one of our corporate database servers here. It's RCCCM CMS. There it is right here. So we're going to open that up. It asks me for the password. See if I have the password. Whoop, not that one. Okay, so it's the standard password. I've opened it up. Now, normally what you have is you have a single table with records that displays this. We actually have several we kind of combined several different applications where we wanted the upcoming training courses, but we also have this website called Try FileMaker for people who are just totally brand new and have no idea. If you want to try to expose them to FileMaker, it's not a sales-oriented site. It's just like, it does this, it does this, it does this. So if I go to the website, Try FileMaker, there it is. So this is the website right here, and these are FileMaker records that come out of this data right here. So if I go to Try FileMaker, you'll see that these are the records right here, and this is the website, public-facing website. This is the back-end database. Really cool. If you like this and you want to have it yourself, download the Video Library Publication Kit. It's free. If you need help, email the team, my team at support@RC Consulting. We built this product for ourselves and are sharing it free with the rest of the world. And we're happy to help you with it, but you got to pay the engineer for the help if you want that. But this is really a powerful solution. Like I said, we give it away for free. It's just we charge for the time the engineers have. They'll answer a handful of questions for free, but it gets to a point where someone needs a little bit more hand-holding. They have to pay for that. So here's the solution here. And so the idea is that I come over here to the CMS. I'm going to come over to this one. So this right here is our show future events. This is our training. So you see these records here horizontally in here. And then if I come back over to the website right here, so there we go. There's the records here, there, and there, and there. And so you see that these are the Monday through Friday right here, and here you are, Monday through Friday right here. And then obviously we have this new one here, and someone has to fix the thumbnail because they haven't put the thumbnail. If you look over here, the thumbnail's not here. So it's literally getting the thumbnails out of FileMaker and loading them on here. Now, what I wanted to show you about the calculation field, not to get too far out of whack, you go to File Manage Database, and we have a flag in here. So it's really important to understand that one of the things we like to do, so there's a practical application. So here's the practical application. I tell the guys and the gals and everyone who works for me, I say, hey, I want to show the events that are coming up, not the ones that have already taken place, right? Because in the database are all the previous live trainings, but I only want to show you, the public, the new ones. And they go, well, we need like a flag future. It's a flag that indicates it's coming up on a future. Now, you could just search on date and time, which is fine, but a lot of times it's easier just to search on the idea that it's a future date. So if you did a find, you'd say, show me the future date and give me the information. So that shows all the future items. Now, they're not sorted in any sort of sort order. They're in the order here they were created, and some of these records were added late, right? So like here's some late ones that were added. Calvin was added pretty late because one of you asked for it and suggested it. I'm going to go back over here to Twitch, make sure we're not, oh, we do have some questions coming up. And then I have apparently, holy crap, I have not seen this before. Apparently, the video team has decided to give me apparently we're going to have an April Fool's event here. Okay, there's the ninja with the knife, FileMaker, and then there is apparently the April Fool's broadcast. I had no idea. That's what happens when you let video guys and our video production guys loose with Photoshop. You get things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say view actual size. And then so how do we get the future event flag to go? Well, it's a calculation field, right? And you're like, aha, back to this calculation, stored and unstored. And actually I caught this bug today in here. I've got a fairly new guy who is super smart outside the world of FileMaker. And in the world of FileMaker, he's learning. Super smart individual. And so what happens is that he builds this feat, but he doesn't understand the nuances between stored and unstored. And so here is the flag right here. It's called flag_publish.future. That name is totally arbitrary. Why there's underscores and periods. Generally periods, you don't use periods because those are reserved characters. In this case, it hasn't caused a problem. Now here's the important thing to understand. If it's a stored calculation, FileMaker does the math and it saves it in a database, and then whatever it was based upon, right? Whatever values it was based upon, it doesn't know, it doesn't care because it did the math, it stored it. And in this case, it's taking the calculation is based upon the current date. Well, that calculation down there stored it. It doesn't care that it was based upon today's date, yesterday's date. You know, all those get functions we have in FileMaker, get the time, get the kind of computer it's on, get the user's name, get the found set. All these sort of things are transient temporal things. They are things that exist and they change all the time. Like the date will change tonight at midnight. And so this calculation field would have no idea that it had changed. It's not that smart. And so you can kind of write a script to trick it to like update itself, but the way you normally do that is you set the calculation field to be unstored. So right here we say, do not store the results. Every time it needs to see the results, every time you need to see the value, it's going to recalculate it at that time, okay? And so you go, every time it's going to recalculate. Okay, well there's the performance warning right there. If it has to recalculate 1 million records, that's where you're going to get yourself in trouble. So it's like, what do we do? And so then you say, well, why don't you just store the results? Except that then the data becomes inaccurate because the FileMaker doesn't know it should have gone back and refreshed it. So this is the catch-22. You want to have up-to-date data on the screen, but you don't want a performance penalty for FileMaker to recalculate it, because here's the thing with FileMaker. It's a really brilliant product, but you have your own business case, your own business situation. The people at Claris and at Apple didn't know when you should recalculate it, right? And so you could try to force the system to recalculate, so that way you always see the updated data, but it's a lot of extra work to do that. I mean, and that's really what we have to do. I mean, it's whether to store it or to not store it. If you store it, it's going to be potentially inaccurate and out of date. If you don't store it, it has to, every time you put the field on the layout, we had that question that was asked, if you put the field on the layout, it's going to recalculate it. Well, if it only has to and this is the gotcha right here. I want to stay focused on this just for the moment. I'm not going to answer the question just for the moment. If we go back over here to, I'm going to go ahead and close this window. You see the issue there. It was referencing a date, a get function that gets the current date from the computer. Say, let me see what the CMS. Here's starting point. FileMaker, if we're on this invoice right here, or we're in list view, right? And say that we only have a found set of this Andra, right? Copy, find, paste. I'm going to just do a search right here on this person. So we have 44 records of 323. Well, really, at the end of the day, we only, if we were on this screen, we would only want to update just these records. And so by us writing our own script that updates just these records, when we press the button, we control when FileMaker starts chugging and doing the math. If we made that calculation as a summary field or a calculation where it had to run it all the time, when you would come to screens, FileMaker would run the totals every time the found set changed. So So I did a search for Anja right here. You get a progress bar. And then you say, oh, I want to omit a couple records. And then you get another progress bar. And say I want to do a search for Lambert over here, LAM, right? And then it's going to do the progress bar again. It would be firing all the time. That's why we put the script control in a button, and we only activate it. And we train the user, hey, would you like to see the updated total down here at the bottom? We want to see the update. Yep, there we go. We're going to press it. We're going to get the updated number. And so instead of it running all the time out of control, basically a background process that's totally out of control, we control when it fires. That's really the whole idea behind this. So questions we had. Disengaged brain. Spectra is already cached out, so that's too bad. Question about summary field. What about the summary field? Okay, so if we're trying to calculate, okay, so back to David, just answer the question. I thought I answered this, but if the field is, if the summary field or a calculation field is not on the layout and it's not referenced somehow referenced, it won't do the calculation. It won't take the effort to calculate it. So it does help that way. But once again, down here, if we had summary fields down here, this would be, you know, every time we did something, it would recalculate. Even if we didn't want to, it would do it. And that's really, at the end of the day, the huge performance thing that people get in trouble. They're having FileMaker do the calculations all the time, and they don't realize how intensive that can be and how obnoxious and invasive it can be. It's like having weeds in the front yard. You don't take care of them, and they start growing out of control. Then suddenly you have a real problem. The other thing that people tend to do, FileMaker users, is that they will say, every time I do something, I want to have it sort. Sorts across the network are slow, just period, end of story. And of course, you know, portals with 100 records in them and portal sorting, that's another performance hit that you take. So ideally, you don't want to sort unless you, the user, wants to. Like you have a special report, you want to print it, give it to the boss, or give it to the owners of the company, or whatever. Then you want to do the sort, and it might take it 10 seconds, 20 seconds to sort, you know, 5,000 records or something like that across the internet. So questions back over here. Nope, more questions from Ed. Questions from the team. Questions. So Spectre 207 says it's Friday, my brain is dead, and he wants to call it a day. That's fine, I don't mind. We are going to be, like I said, I'm showing you the under the hood here a little bit with this, how we do things. And so what we did right here was interesting. We were experimenting with this field being right here, being a non-index calculation, and this field right here being an index copy of it. And so my guy was playing to see if there was ever a situation where these two checkboxes wouldn't match. So this field right here, the first checkbox is, for those of you who are interested in this, it's the flag. Should be flag, L-A-F-A-G, flag. Is it not flag future? Oh, I'm in the wrong database here. Hang on. There we go. There we go. Flag publish future. So this is unstored, and then he made a copy of it, which basically copies it over to an index. So this one is stored as an index text field. This one here is unstored. So basically, when it recalculates, it makes a copy that is stored. It's kind of an interesting little way to cheat on it. And so the idea is that if you do a search in a database on an unstored calculation, the system has to rerun the calc for every record in the system, basically. So if you had 1 million records and you did a search on that, it would have to calculate the date over the entire found set. It would be a giant mess. And so the engineer was saying, well, every time it calculates, this changes, we update this screen, we want to grab the value from over here. The trick is that you could run into a situation where the data still would not be up to date with that. So you have to play with this a little bit. You have to make sure the date is up to date. And actually, as it turns out, when they coded the PHP with this, they actually, instead of searching on that flag field over here, they actually searched for the date. The date is today's date or greater, equal today or greater, and the time is equal to the current time or greater. And so it's actually doing a search dynamically off the event date. The event date's right there, and the event time, which is 1,300 hours over here. And that's how it generates the found set. So, and if I do a reload, then yeah, once again, my video guy still needs to go over there and update that record over here. So if I go show future, there we go. So what I do with a button here, I script it to do the found set. I have a button to do the found set, and then do a sort. So in this case, I want the sort. I want to see the future items. And because I'm pressing the button, I'm willing to there to be a little bit of delay before I get the data. And so this tells me that the next event for Monday, I need to make sure that Calvin's ready to go, and then all the way down to Friday, and then the charting one, which is going to suck. I hate charts. I think I love charts looking at them. Setting them up in FileMaker is one of the more painful experiences on the planet because it's, it's not very visual. It's kind of like, more for like a developer, I guess. And so in terms of being a visual chart, it's just a hard one to do. So we'll have some fun with that. If you watch the charting videos in our FileMaker training, you see those as well. Now, keep in mind, as a shameless plug, and I don't have, we do have a question here. So from David, if it's in layout mode but not showing in browse mode. Okay. I understand the question David just asked. So David asked a question, and David, if I have this wrong, you need to let me know. So what David is implying is what we call POV, or programmatic object visibility, or the hidden feature in FileMaker. So what happens is say that we have a calculation right here, and it's actually on the layout. So it's on the layout right there, up there. I guess I use my mouse right here and drive around. It's right here, but it's hidden. Say, for example, it's in a condition where if you press the object and you come over to the right, it's the right pane, but it's the right panel of the right pane. So that's a left pane, right pane. There are 4 panels within this pane. And on the right one here, you can actually set when an object is hidden. That's a totally different conversation. It's hidden at a very high level. And basically what that means is that it's still there. FileMaker still sees it, still calculates it, but it is hidden from visual from you, so that will still result in a calculation running and a delay. So if it's there but it's hidden with the hide function right here, that doesn't buy you anything. I mean, it doesn't show it to the person, which can be useful, but performance-wise, this is not going to help you out at all. Okay, does that make sense? Hopefully David has that question. So I finished it, and now I'm watching it myself over here, and I'm just now starting to explain it. So that's that delay, right? Once again, I wish it was more real time. That's why when I present in front of a live audience, I get the real-time feedback. It's useful, so I can be more relevant. Got it. Okay, so hopefully that's it. So just as a side note, I said programmatic object visibility, POV. It's what the Claris engineers call this feature internally. I learned this by talking to them, and they call it POV, programmatic object visibility. The reason they don't call it that in the product, which they wanted to, they did a trademark search, and apparently problematic, but programmatic, like programming, programmatic object visibility is a trademark term they're not allowed to use in front of customers. It belongs to some other company. So about the time you describe, oxygen that we breathe, you can't actually use those words because someone else has trademarked that. So you can't say oxygen you breathe. It's air that doesn't kill you or something. I don't know, but you get the idea. It's a trademark term, and so a lot of times they invent things, and then they can't call that. Like over here is an object tree. I'm pretty sure object tree is another trademark term, but it's really what this is an object tree. It shows you all the objects in the order that they exist, from the top layer of FileMaker all the way to the bottom. So that's an object tree. So cool. David was happy with that answer. Checking YouTube real quick. Ed hasn't had any more questions, Ed. Okay, well, very quiet, Ed. The YouTube folks, we've been doing Twitch for a while now, but we're doing simulcast broadcast to YouTube. So if you're interested in watching it on YouTube in the future, I'll make sure you get a link. It's you can get to it. Basically, you end up going to our channel, then there's a video that shows at the bottom that we're live, and then you can pop it up and click in it. So, I don't know if you can see this over here. Let me aim the screen at you over here. Oh, there we go. So there you go. So you see the two, and I'm talking on both those, right? So that is, on the right is Twitch, and on the left is YouTube. So it's simulcast to both. They're slightly out of sync, but it's not that big of an issue. So additional questions, it's 1:46. And we are still wrestling with this dark color over here. It's excessively dark. And on this screen over here in front of me, it's overly bright. Almost I can't hardly see it. So we'll have to work on that a little bit. So questions. Additional questions. Charles, we lost Charles. I think Charles left. Charles had a 2 o'clock event he had to go to. So I'm actually here running the whole show by myself. In fact, I haven't been bothered by the cats at all. Where are the fluffy kitties? Therapy cats, right? When you get stressed out, everyone needs a therapy cat. Take care of your fluffy kitties. Problem is your fluffy kitties eat too many snacks and they start to chonk out and they get very round. As we say in the business, they become festively plump, right? So that's a South Park reference for those of you who recognize that. So Twitch checks, check. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up here for today. The idea is that make sure that we're going to be doing live broadcasts every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 1 o'clock. We're going to be happy to answer questions. Monday is going to be interesting because it's going to be an audit trail. Audit trail conversation with Calvin Moseyman. He will be there. He'll be there to answer questions and to walk you through how he's got the latest high efficiency audit trail. We had a pretty good audit trail, but Nick Hunter got in there. Remember, Nick Hunter is the architect of the lean design. So those of you who don't know, remember lean design is if you go to FM Starting Point's website, you hit the marketplace at the top. There is a free video course right here. And what you can do is just play the videos right out of here. This is Nick Hunter. Nick Hunter is a former Claris FileMaker employee who worked very closely with the engineering team, and he worked very hard to understand the subtle differences between good performance and amazing performance, and there's little things you can do. It's called lean design. That content is all right here. He got together with Calvin. They came up with the lean design audit trail. So it's the lean audit trail. That's what we probably ought to call that thing. So feel free to check us out on Monday at 1 o'clock Pacific time. These recordings will be saved, are being saved to YouTube, and we'll make sure that we make links available for them. So I'm Richard Carlton. If you have any questions, you want to check out our video training at video training here at fmtraining.tv. We have individual courses that are here. The best deal for you is to check out the bundles. If you're one of our video watchers and you would like a discount on the bundle, make sure that you send an email to support@RC Consulting. We'll give you a discount code so you can get these. We have a complete bundle, which includes the most expanded version of FM Starting Point with all the bells and whistles, includes the calendar kits and all the things that we do. This bundle right here is a limited bundle, which only includes just all the video training, right? So if you'd like a discount code for either one of those, or if you need to renew that, I highly recommend you do that because by you buying the training and buying the bundles, that's how we finance all of this stuff. So until Monday at 1 o'clock, I'm Richard Carlton, and I'll catch you next week.
Guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected. The quarterback, great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Trying to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap. Stands in, throws it left for Amendola. Reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10. Rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.